Let me ask you something honest. When was the last time you had a conversation with a woman you were genuinely drawn to and walked away thinking that felt real? Not polished, not impressive, not carefully managed, but actually real. The kind of conversation where something genuine passed between two people and you both knew it. If you're struggling to remember one, I want to tell you something important. That is not a reflection of who you are. It is a reflection of how you've been taught to communicate. And today we are going to change that completely. Here is the fundamental problem that most men never identify. They stay trapped in a cycle of safe conversations. Topics that have been rehearsed so many times, they carry no emotional weight whatsoever. Think about what the daily experience actually looks like for a woman who is attractive, interesting, and socially engaged. She is constantly being looked at. She is constantly receiving compliments about her appearance. And she is constantly being asked the exact same 5 questions about her job, her hometown, her weekend plans, maybe her favorite restaurant. To her, this is not a conversation. It is a script she has to perform. It is mentally exhausting. And more importantly, every single man who follows that script becomes completely indistinguishable from every other man who followed the same script before him. You are not a person to her in those moments. You are a pattern she has seen so many times, her brain handles it on autopilot while the rest of her waits for it to be over. Real, lasting attraction is not built by displaying your accomplishments or your status or your wit. It is not even built by being the most charming or entertaining person in the room. Real, lasting pull is created when you make a woman feel genuinely seen, not observed, not evaluated. Seen? Most men look at the surface and comment on what they find there. The man who creates real connection looks past the surface and asks about what is hidden underneath it. And today I am giving you 6 specific questions that do exactly that. 6 psychological keys that open doors most men never even find. By the end of this conversation, you will understand not just what to ask, but why these questions work at the level they do. And that understanding is what allows you to use them naturally rather than mechanically. Before we get into the questions themselves, I need to explain something about how the human brain works in conversation. Because once you understand this, the entire strategy behind what we are doing makes complete sense. The human brain is wired to conserve energy by automating repetitive tasks. When a woman hears a question she has answered 50 times before, her subconscious mind handles the response while her conscious attention remains entirely elsewhere. She gives you a polished, scripted answer because you have not given her any reason to go deeper. Her autopilot is fully engaged, and she is essentially waiting for the interaction to end. To create genuine attraction, you have to force her conscious mind to actually wake up. You do this by asking something unexpected, something she was not prepared for, something that requires her to pause, to look inward, to actually think. That brief pause, that moment of genuine internal processing is precisely where real intrigue is born. Because in that moment, you are no longer another pattern she has encountered before. You are something different. And different is the beginning of everything. The first question is a direct pathway into her personal evolution. Ask her this. What is something you believed strongly 5 years ago that you no longer believe now? This is a massive pattern interrupt because it bypasses her present and asks her to reflect on her own growth. Most men ask about her current situation, her current opinions, her current life. Those questions invite the social mask she wears publicly. But when you ask about how her beliefs have changed, you are acknowledging something profound. You are telling her through the question itself that you understand she is a dynamic, growing, evolving human being rather than a fixed object to be evaluated. You are asking about the forces that shaped her into the woman standing in front of you. When she answers this, she has to reach back into her own history. She might talk about a relationship that completely reshaped how she sees people, a career shift that changed what she values, a moment of loss or betrayal that forced her to grow in ways she didn't expect. Whatever she shares, she's giving you a genuine map of her psychological development. She is showing you how she became who she is, and that creates an immediate sense of intimacy because you are in territory that most people around her never bother to enter. Pay attention when you ask this. You will often see a slight pause followed by a small smile. A look that says, nobody has asked me this before. That moment is your signal that you have successfully stepped off the predictable path she was expecting you to follow. The second question reaches past her logical mind and speaks directly to her emotional identity. Ask her when she feels most fully herself. I want you to understand what makes this question so powerful. Most of the time, most people are performing. They are being the employee or the daughter or the friend or the woman who has it together. They are wearing a version of themselves that the world around them expects. When you ask her when she feels most like herself, you are asking her to identify the moments when all of that performance falls away and she simply exists freely. You are asking about the conditions under which her real self breathes. Her answer might be something simple: a walk alone in the morning, a specific creative process she loses herself in, being with a particular person who never makes her feel she has to be anything other than exactly what she is. Whatever she says, she is showing you where her soul feels at home. And here is the remarkable psychological effect of this. Once she shares that with you, she begins to unconsciously associate you with that feeling. The feeling of being seen at the level of her authentic self rather than her performed self. That association is how organic attraction develops. Not through manufactured charm, not through impressive stories about yourself, but through the experience of being genuinely understood. The third question is what I call the permission question. And it is one of the most emotionally liberating things you can ask someone. It goes like this. If nothing was holding you back, no fear, no financial concern, no judgment from anyone around you, what would you actually be doing right now? Every person carries a version of themselves that the world rarely sees. Suppressed dreams, unvoiced ambitions, a life they have imagined in quiet moments but rarely allowed themselves to speak about out loud because the people around them tend to respond with skepticism or practical concerns or gentle redirection towards something more realistic. When you ask this question, you are handing her a blank canvas and saying, "Show me the version of yourself the world rarely gets to see." You are giving her permission to dream out loud without any fear of being minimized or judged. Most men anchor conversations in her current reality by asking about her job or her daily life. You are anchoring her in her sense of possibility. That shift from daily reality to unfiltered potential creates a release of genuine emotional energy, and she begins to associate you with that feeling of freedom. Not freedom from you, freedom in your presence. That is one of the most powerful things a man can create in a conversation. As she speaks about these hidden dreams, your role is simple and critical. Do not offer advice. Do not start problem-solving how she could achieve them. Just listen. Let her describe the details. Let her feel what it is like to say these things out loud to someone who is simply present with them. That quality of listening, unhurried and without agenda, is itself one of the rarest things she will encounter. The fourth question is bold. It requires real confidence to ask and real groundedness to hold space for the answer. Ask her this. What kind of connection do you think you actually deserve? This is a question about her sense of self-worth. It bypasses small talk entirely and goes straight into the territory of her values and her internal standards. You are not asking about romance specifically. You are asking whether she believes she is genuinely worthy of the depth of connection she actually wants. When you ask this, your physical presence matters enormously. Maintain calm, steady eye contact. Do not look away or physically fidget. This is a moment of genuine psychological tension, and your ability to hold that tension without flinching is exactly what makes the question work. She may pause for a long time. She may say she has never thought about it that way. She may even admit that she has settled for less than she deserves in the past. Whatever she says, you are now in territory that almost nobody in her life has ever navigated with her. And by going there, by showing her that you are a man who thinks about the quality of connection rather than just access to her time, you separate yourself from the overwhelming majority of men she has ever spoken with. You are positioning yourself not as someone who wants something from her, but as someone who is genuinely interested in whether she values herself properly. And that distinction, from wanting to take to wanting to understand, is one of the most powerful shifts in energy that can occur between two people. The fifth question is a direct invitation into her vulnerability. Ask her this. What is something you wish people understood about you that they usually don't? Every person, regardless of how confident or put together they appear on the surface, carries something that feels consistently misunderstood or invisible to the people around them. A part of their personality that gets misread. A dimension of who they are that people overlook because the surface presentation is too familiar and too easy to categorize. This question hands her the key to reveal that invisible layer. It says, I am not satisfied with the version of you that everyone else sees. I want to know the part that goes unnoticed. She might tell you that people read her as cold when she is actually deeply protective of the people she loves. That people assume she has everything together when she is struggling with more than she shows. That people see her confidence and miss the self-doubt underneath it. Whatever she reveals, she is sharing a private truth. a dimension of herself that she usually keeps carefully hidden behind her social presentation. And because you asked and because you created the emotional environment that made it feel safe to answer honestly, you become the person she associates with being genuinely known. This is where a conversation moves from interesting to genuinely intimate. And once a woman feels that a man actually sees her accurately, a bond forms that surface-level connection simply cannot produce. The sixth and final question is philosophical in nature and extraordinarily revealing. Ask her what freedom means to her specifically. This question carries enormous power precisely because most people never stop to define it. Everyone uses the word. Everyone claims to value it. But what it actually means varies dramatically from person to person. For some women, freedom means financial independence. For others, it means the emotional space to exist without constant judgment. For some, it means escaping the expectations of their family or their culture. For others, it means the freedom to be in a relationship without losing themselves in it. Whatever her answer is, you are discovering what genuinely motivates her at the deepest level. You are seeing what she is moving toward in her life, what she is trying to protect, what she is working to create, and what she is most afraid of losing. This is a soul map. It reveals the internal compass that guides her most important decisions. And when you understand a woman's definition of freedom, you understand something about her that most people in her life never access. You are no longer guessing at what she wants. You are seeing the internal world that drives her. Use this question in quieter moments, when some emotional safety has already been established between you. It is not a question for loud, crowded environments. It is a question for the moments when the conversation has already found some depth and you are ready to go deeper still. Now, I want to say something important before we close because these 6 questions carry real responsibility alongside their power. When you ask questions that are designed to invite genuine depth and genuine vulnerability, you are creating a real emotional experience for the person you are talking with. You are asking them to open doors they usually keep closed. And that means you have to be genuinely prepared to handle what walks through those doors. If she opens up and you become uncomfortable with the depth or try to redirect to something lighter or fail to hold the space she trusted you with, you do not just miss an opportunity. You cause genuine harm. These questions are not clever tricks to be deployed strategically by someone who is not actually present or genuinely interested. They are tools for a man who is actually grounded, actually curious, and actually capable of receiving another person's complexity without being destabilized by it. Masculine presence in this context does not mean dominance or performance. It means the capacity to remain steady, open, and genuinely attentive while someone shows you who they actually are. That is the quality that makes these conversations transformative rather than merely interesting. And it is the quality that makes you unforgettable. Women are not drawn to men who simply want them. They are drawn to men who genuinely understand them. And sometimes that understanding reaches deeper than the woman has reached in herself. When you create that experience for someone, when you are the person who helped them see themselves more clearly, you do not just earn their attention. You earn a permanent place in how they think about themselves. You become woven into their story of who they are. And that is the kind of impression that does not fade. That is the kind of connection worth building. That is what it means to be genuinely present in a world full of men who are simply performing. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 6 questions hit you differently. And subscribe if you haven't already, because every week we go deeper into the real psychology of connection, attraction, and what it genuinely means to be a man whose presence changes the quality of every conversation he enters.